there. Rachel Cook here, founder of the Yogipreneur and your host for Yogipreneur TV. I'm so excited about my guest today, Francesca Cervero. Francesca is a dear friend of mine, and what she is doing in the yoga community is really, really exciting because she is talking about how to build a private yoga business. So instead of running around, burning yourself out, running from class to class, instead building a really loyal clientele base and serving those people really deeply. So I'm excited to have Francesca here with me. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
Well, I know a lot of teachers are very interested in privates, but it tends to be something a lot of people are kind of scared to get into because it seems to be almost more overwhelming to work with one person than face a full class. So tell me a little bit about what you think a new yoga teacher needs to think about when it comes to starting teaching privates.
Yeah. Well, the first step is to just acknowledge that it is really different from teaching a group class. And it totally can be a little bit more overwhelming because it's much more vulnerable, both for you as the teacher and for the student. So you first just kind of like acknowledge that and know that going in, that there'll be moments where it feels awkward, where you feel unsure of what to do next. And if you just like know that it's going to feel like that, it won't be so surprising, I think,
I think that's really, really powerful. And
yeah,
that vulnerability piece is kind of scary at first.
Yeah.
But I love some of the stories I've heard from you, and I'm wondering, do you have an example of a experience working with a client where you had to deal with that vulnerability, and what was the result of that relationship?
Let me think. I mean, I think in almost every private client situation that comes up, especially when you're first meeting someone. Yeah. So I think, the first step as a teacher is to just like make sure that you feel grounded yourself. I had a student who I talk about a lot because when he first came to me, he was like, I don't want to do yoga. But what I need to do something, like, how can you help me, essentially? But my very first meeting with him was so awkward because I was teaching him in the gym in his apartment building, and it was winter in New York City. So like I just had like come in off the street. I had like my huge puffy coat on, like my boots, like my purse, and I walked into the gym and he was down there in his like running shoes, and literally I still had my coat on, like the whole thing. And he gave me this kind of spiel. He was like, okay, listen, I don't want to do yoga, but I know my wife really likes you and I know I need to do something. So, where should I start? And I still had my coat on, right? So I had to just be like, okay, well, I'm going to just take my coat off and put it over here. But it was like this very uncomfortable, and I felt so vulnerable because it was like I wanted to help him, but I need to take care of myself first a little bit, Yeah. So it's good and important to take like that time for yourself as a teacher to just get organized a little bit so that you can then like really meet them where they are and try to look at the body in front of you and help them as much as you can,
I think that's so crucial, and I think it transcends across any type of client relationship because that first initial meeting, I think some people are like, that was so awkward, this is not right, this is not it, they're not the right client for me.
Right.
But sometimes there's that period where you really have to just let down your guard, be like, okay, we're just getting used to each other, we're going to figure this out. And then that's a client who you've actually had, I know, for years.
And he does like a very full, well-rounded, like deep spiritual yoga practice, and he loves every second of it. So, but it took us some time to get there,
That's really great. And I think for a new student who might feel that initial awkwardness is a sign of this is not a fit, this is not right, they don't really like this or whatever, you really just have to let each other kind of get used to the relationship.
Yeah.
And get it established.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as a teacher, you can be really patient and just trust that the yoga does work.
Yeah.
And to give it time.
Awesome.
To give it time. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So one of the questions a lot of people ask me all the time is they'll get a private client and maybe they'll see that private client a couple times, maybe a handful of times if they're lucky. And then it'll feel like that client drops off the face of the earth and the teacher's sitting there going, what did I do wrong? How come I don't have clients who are with me a long time? And as someone who I know many of your clients have been with you for years. How do you build those relationships so that you really have these ongoing relationships and you're not constantly hustling for another private?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of my clients since 2006. So, yeah. And it's really fun. You know, it's like I have such like meaningful relationships with all these people now. But, I think that the most important thing in working with a private client is that they feel like they're having a really meaningful and profound experience. So if you go in and teach your private client the way you would teach a group class, even if they're healthy and strong and they can do everything that you're offering, there's no way that it's going to be meeting their deepest needs. So you have to kind of like dig a little bit. And sometimes people will talk to you about what's going on in their body or what's going on in their life, and then you can sort of craft a session that will like support that wherever they are. But some people won't say very much. And so you have to use your intuition, get a sense of what's going on for them, and then really try to create a class that meets their absolute deepest needs so that they're feeling like really profound changes both in their body and in their life, you know, out in the world. So like an example would be, and I talk about this a lot in my work with teachers, you know, if someone is in a physical pose, we'll just say Anjaneyasana or crescent lunge, and you ask them, how does it feel? And you just get a sort of like quick answer, oh, it's fine. You've sort of missed an opportunity, because what you want to get a sense of is if let's say the intended benefit of that pose was that they feel a big stretch in the like hip or thigh of the back leg, or maybe just some work in strengthening the legs to stabilize and be balanced. If they're not having either of those experiences, but they're having some other experience, like the front hip is like feels like it's jammed or their knee hurts, it's important for you to know that so you can adjust the pose to get the benefit that you intended. So it's like you have to ask questions. You have to have a dialogue with them as they're practicing and moving through their poses so that you can adjust their poses and adjust the practice to really like make a difference for them. Does that make sense?
Totally. It totally does. I mean, it's the difference between when you're leading a class, you're not really dialoguing with each individual person.
Right.
I mean, you're paying attention and you're, you know, giving them adjustments or maybe cueing them different things to help. But when you're one-on-one with person, it's got to be 100% tailored.
100%, yeah.
Which is really, really different.
Yeah.
So for people who are wanting to get started with privates, but maybe they're a brand spanking new teacher, like right out of a teacher training, and one of the things I know you really believe is most teacher trainings are very geared towards teaching a class as opposed to teaching a private. How could someone who's very new get some experience teaching private so they feel confident going into first time teaching like a real client?
Right, yeah. I think a lot of friends and family would be more than happy to volunteer their time and get a yoga private lesson, right? Like,
for sure.
So you can just like offer that to your friends and to your family and tell people, you know, even as they're going through their teacher training programs, they can say, I'd love to practice what I'm teaching. Like, are you up for doing a private session with me? You know, that people do that a lot. And then the only problem then is like, once you really are like ready to start creating a career for yourself and they are teaching private clients, then you have to either like, you can't teach people for free anymore, like all your family and friends, or you have to start charging them, or you can't teach them anymore. So there's like got to be some transition out of that. But I think that it wouldn't be that hard to find volunteers to practice on. I don't know. What do you think, Rachel?
I think it's really important. I think for anybody who's starting any sort of one-on-one work, whether it's yoga or coaching or whatever, I think it's really important to have a round of people to just kind of get the jitters out. You know, get used to the idea of standing in front of somebody and talking them through something.
Right.
And that practice on its own, I think, is super, super valuable.
Yeah, definitely.
Love it. So I'm really thrilled to have you join us for the Yogipreneur Urban Retreat coming up, where we're going to help yoga teachers go pro. I'd love for you to share a little bit about what you're going to talk about with building privates into your yoga career.
Sure. Sort of expand on a lot of what I've been talking about already, because people always come to me and ask me, like, how do you have so many private clients? You know, like, where are you finding these people? Like, what's your business marketing trick? And when I first started my like teaching career, I had no business training at all. You know, I've gotten a lot since then, but in the beginning I didn't. And I did grow like my whole first round of private clients without any marketing, without any advertising. And so I think, you know, what happens in the classroom, working with someone one-on-one, is really like what grew my business, because it grew totally by word of mouth. Mm-hmm. So I'll be talking a bit about, you know, all the things that can and should be different in a private session versus a group class, and kind of like running through the list of some, like, hopefully like pretty simple action items that you can take like right away if you're working one-on-one with someone, that should change the experience for them. So it's a deeper, more profound experience.
Love it. And that's the type of experience that will get people coming back for more, when you really meet them where they're at, get their needs truly met, and even help them if they're not that great at articulating those needs yet.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great skill set to have for any type of service type of business. So really powerful. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Francesca. I'm so excited to have you. And if you guys are interested in joining us live in DC or streaming, we're going to have both of those options available the beginning of November for our urban retreat. Woohoo!
Yay.
I'm excited. Well, thanks so much for joining me. I think some people probably got some amazing takeaways out of this, and I can't wait to see you soon.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye. Ready to be inspired in your biz? Get weekly lessons to live in your business sweet spot, plus exclusive content that I only share via email. Sign up for updates at theyogipreneur.com.